We're joined now by the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Mr. Bessent, thank you for joining us this morning. We've just heard about all these impacts from the government shutdown right now. Are we starting to see a permanent impact on the economy?
Sure, George, and good to be with you. And we've seen an impact on the economy from day one, but it's getting worse and worse. We had a fantastic economy under President Trump the past 2 quarters, and now there are estimates that the economic growth for this quarter could be cut by as much as half if the shutdown continues. And what your correspondent didn't talk about there, George, was there's, of course, the human cost, and we're going to have the busiest travel day of the year, the day after Thanksgiving. And Americans should look to 5 Democratic senators to come across the aisle to open that. But on the other side, there's also cargo is being slowed down. So, we could end up with shortages, whether it's in our supply chains, whether it's for the holidays. So, cargo and people are both being slowed down here, and that's for safety's sake, George.
The president continues to post about ending the filibuster. Is that the best way to end the shutdown right now? Is that what the administration's position is?
No, George, the best way to do it, and look, you were involved in a lot of these in the 90s, and you basically called the Republicans terrorists, and you said that it is not the responsible party that keeps the government closed. And so what we need is 5 brave, moderate Democratic senators to cross the aisle, because right now it is 52 to 3. 52 to 3. 5 Democrats can cross the aisle and reopen the government. That's the best way to do it, George.
I can disagree with you about the history there, but we don't need a history lesson right now.
George, let's talk about
what's happening right now.
If you want, I've got all your quotes here. George.
I'm sure you do.
But
let's talk about the situation right now.
Read your book, so you got one purchase on Amazon this week, and that's very much what you said.
It's a mischaracterization of history, but I do want to talk about right now is the best way to end the shutdown right now, to end the filibuster?
The best way is for 5 Democratic senators to come across the aisle. What are we on vote 13, 14, 15? Mike Johnson got the reopening out of the House very quickly. And what's changed since the spring, George, is Chuck Schumer's poll numbers. He had a clean continuing resolution in the spring. And why are Democrats doing this now, George? Again, you've been involved with this. Explain what's changed. Senator Chris Murphy gave the game away this week when he said, well, now it's to our advantage to keep the government closed. They have turned the American people into pawns.
The president has also come forward with a new proposal overnight saying it's time instead to do away with Obamacare, instead to have the money go directly to the people. Do you have a formal proposal to do that?
We don't have a formal proposal, but what I have noticed over time is that the Democrats give all these bills the Orwellian names, the Affordable Care Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and we end up with just the opposite. The Affordable Care Act has become unaffordable, and the Inflation Reduction Act set off the greatest inflation in 50 years.
Well, I'm a little confused because the president has been posting about that overnight and into this morning, but you're not proposing that to the Senate right now?
We're not proposing it to the Senate right now, no.
Then why is the president posting about it?
George, the president's posting about it, but again, we have got to get the government reopened before we do this. We are not going to negotiate with the Democrats until they reopen the government. It's very simple. Reopen the government, then we can have a discussion.
Let's talk about affordability and inflation. That was one of the key concerns that voters said was on their minds as they were voting this Tuesday. It appeared to be the driving force in the elections. But President Trump is still insisting that prices are way down, even though last month's report showed inflation stuck at about 3%. Are Americans worried about inflation just wrong?
Well, George, I can tell you what we're not going to do is what happened under the Biden administration, where the administration and the media gaslit everyone and said, oh, there's a vibe session, you don't understand how good you have it. And what happened then was we had the worst inflation 40 or 50 years, 22, 23%, but the basket of goods and services for working Americans was up more than 30%. And what we're seeing is we had to stop the increase first. Now we are starting to see prices level off, come down. Gasoline is down, interest rates are down, so mortgages are down, and I think we are making substantial progress on that. And I think over the coming months and the next year, prices are going to come down.
The president says, he just had posted this morning that there's almost no inflation. The consumer price index is higher than it was in the beginning of the year. Electricity rates are rising. So are prices for coffee, beef, vegetables, televisions. And it's not just me. It's not just economists who are saying that. Your own Republican members of Congress are saying that, including Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's look.
I go to the grocery store myself. Grocery prices remain high. Energy prices are high. My electricity bills are higher here in Washington, D.C. at my apartment, and they're also higher at my house in Rome, Georgia, higher than they were a year ago. So affordability is a problem.
How do you respond to Congresswoman Greene?
Well, George, what I would respond to is electricity prices are a state problem, and I was very interested to see in the earlier clip where the governor-elect of New Jersey said, "Well, I'm going to bring down energy prices." Well, it was her predecessor, Phil Murphy, who took them up. So, look, there are things that the federal government can control. Local electricity prices are not one of them, but energy prices, gasoline prices are way down, and we are doing what we can every day. I think we are on a very good path to bringing prices down.
Let's talk about tariffs in the Supreme Court. The president is also posting about tariffs this morning. He's saying people that are against tariffs are fools. We're taking in trillions of dollars. Is that true?
We have over the course of the next few years, we could take in trillions of dollars, George. But the real goal of the tariffs is to rebalance trade and make it more fair. Over time, and the president's goal is to bring back manufacturing to the U.S. For the past two, 3, 4 decades, we've seen our manufacturing sector gutted. So what would happen over time is we would take in substantial money as factories come back to the U.S., as we're seeing now. I was just down in South Carolina at a rare earth magnet plant and a Boeing plant on Friday, and that's I believe 1,500 total new jobs. Tariff income will be substantial, but then that will rebalance. The goal here, George, is to rebalance trade. So tariff income will be substantial at the beginning, it will come down, and then domestic tax revenues will climb as corporate taxes go up and all these high-paying jobs are created.
The president's main argument, though, seems to be that it's about taking in the revenue, and he also promised this morning
George,
dividend
stop
of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people. How is he going to pay that dividend of $2,000 a person?
It's not about taking in the revenue; it's about rebalancing. And the revenue occurs early on, and then as we rebalance and the jobs come home, then it becomes domestic tax revenue.
Are you worried that the president's focus on revenue, though, which is what he's been focusing on in his public statements, is going to hurt your argument at the Supreme Court?
Not at all. It's completely consistent that the revenues come in at the beginning, then as we rebalance, which is the goal of this, bring back high-paid manufacturing jobs to the U.S., then it will then morph into domestic tax revenues. President Trump has consistently fought for the American worker, and we are seeing trillions of investments in the U.S. that would not have occurred without the tariffs. The other thing, too, is the authority that he uses is called IEPA. It is an emergency authority, and he used that emergency authority. He got the Chinese to the table to negotiate on stopping the precursors for fentanyl drugs. If fentanyl, hundreds of thousands of Americans dying every year, is not an emergency, what is? On October 8th, Chinese threatened to put export controls on rare earth materials. He was able to threaten 100% tariffs, and we were able to negotiate that away. And then finally, in terms of the general tariffs, we are doing these trade deals that would not be possible. We were at a tipping point in terms of the economy, in terms of our trade balance, and we are rebalancing successfully.
Do you have a proposal, a formal proposal to give a $2,000 dividend to every American?
I haven't spoken to the president about this yet, but it could the $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways, George. It could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing on the president's agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. So those are substantial deductions that are being financed in the tax bill.
Secretary, thanks for your time this morning.